The galaxy of Warhammer 40K is a brutal, endless war zone where every faction dreams of total domination. But let's be honest, not all of them have an equal shot at actually ruling the galaxy. Today, we're diving deep into the lore, the power levels, and the strategic realities of the 41st millennium to answer one burning question: who is the most likely to win the war for galactic supremacy? Let's break it down. First up, we have the Imperium of Man. Too big to fail, or already failing. On paper, the Imperium is still the largest political entity in the galaxy, with trillions of people, millions of worlds, and legendary heroes. And to top it all off, the Emperor, sort of, still at the helm. Now, they have the sheer numbers and industrial output to win this on an overall weapons basis. They have superhuman armies like the Space Marines and the Custodes, and they're aligned with the Adeptus Mechanicus to keep and outfit those armies. And then there's the biggest threat: the Emperor's psychic presence holding back the darkness from the warp and the chaos entities. However, they probably won't win for a few reasons. The Imperium itself is collapsing under its own weight. Constant civil war and usurping of local thrones, along with chaos taints and other infectious outsiders, leaves the Imperium struggling against itself. Constant civil wars and bureaucratic stagnation do not help this. And then there's the big factor: they are surrounded by existential threats on all sides from every single other race. Ultimately, then, the Imperium survives through stubbornness, not strength. They're not winning, they're just enduring. On the flip side to this, we have Chaos: eternal, powerful, and disorganized as hell. Chaos has infinite demons, godlike beings, and corrupted champions who can tear reality apart. But their biggest enemy is themselves. Now, they have near infinite forces from the warp. Demons can be conjured at a moment's notice, and any form of demonite being can respawn and come back to life at any time. Then you have demon primarchs and their corrupted legions, essentially the same as the Imperium, just bigger, badder, and worse because they've got gods that give them horrible gifts. Couple this with a galaxy drowning in fear, despair, and war, you have perfect fuel for not only the Chaos gods, but their armies as well. But they probably won't win. You see, Chaos can't stop fighting itself. The Word Bearers are hated by everybody, the World Eaters are hated by the Death Guard, the Emperor's champions are disliked by virtually everybody, and the Iron Warriors want nothing to do with any of the other factions. And then you've got the demons. They can't maintain stable rule. They're too chaotic, they serve too many gods, and they disappear from reality when the warp becomes too unstable. Then there is the big factor for the Imperium. Humanity's faith in the Emperor powers him to be the beacon against chaos, just the same as any despair powers a chaos god. Ultimately, then, chaos is unbeatable, but it's also incapable of winning. Then we have the Tyranids, the silent, hungry end of all biomass in the galaxy. Now, the Tyranids are the single scariest faction in 40k because we've only met their vanguard fleets. The real hive mind may exist outside the galaxy entirely, and we have no idea what that really looks like. Now, they have endless numbers, constant evolution and adaptation that comes when they fight enemies, and they win or lose, they still develop once they've fought you. They also don't have diplomacy or corruption or infighting, so they don't have to worry about which one of them's going to take charge next week. They just get on and do whatever the hive mind wants. And as I said before, their true strength is still unknown. They could have a massive army waiting to come in to fight everybody, and what they've sent is an expeditionary fleet. But then again, they might not. See, the galaxy's factions can still unite against them in a rare but possible fight against the darkness. There's also uncertainty on how they will handle warp-based threats. Demons are yet to prove themselves fully against them, and we've not seen a Chaos God fight the Tyranids yet. And there's the other factor: they could be at war with something even worse outside the galaxy, hence why they're running into ours. But ultimately, if nobody stops them, the Tyranids win by default. They are famine incarnate. Now we come to the Necrons, the ancient kings who are reawakening to reclaim their galaxy. And I say their galaxy because it was theirs before the Imperium came along. The Necrons are the closest thing the galaxy has to a technologically unstoppable superpower. Their weapons can erase souls, rewrite physics, and shut down the warp itself. Now, they could win. Their tech is far beyond anyone else's. Look at the Adeptus Mechanicus. They keep chasing Necron homeworlds because their technology is so superior to the Imperium's. Then you've got the Silent King. He wants to unify all the Necron dynasties, and if that happens, it's game over. They also potentially are able to sever warp access entirely, and if they did that, the Imperium would not be able to travel anywhere without it taking forever to get between worlds. The same with Chaos. They're also immortal, fearless, and tireless. Their armies can be killed and destroyed, and they simply respawn and come at you again. However, as I said before, there are so many dynasties that refuse to cooperate. The Silent King's unification plans are unlikely to cooperate and happen. Couple that with someone like Trajan the Infinite, who constantly keeps making his mind up as who he wants to play on the side with. He could give the Imperium more to win, or he could give the Necrons more to win. No one knows. There's also the fact that the galaxy has changed in the millennia that they've been asleep. Various races did not exist. Certain empires and galactic forces were not there. And then you've got Chaos and the Warp, which are still massive variables in their existence. Ultimately, on a long enough timeline, the Necrons are one of the top contenders to win the galaxy. Following on from the Necrons, we come to another old species, the Eldari. See, they are a dying species, but they do have a possible comeback arc. They are few in number, but they're very, very dangerous. And if the Inari succeeded in resurrecting their god Ened, the Eldari could potentially reclaim their former glory. Now, they have psychic dominance. Most of their psykers make the Emperor of Mankind look like a 6-year-old child learning a card trick. They're unmatched in terms of speed and precision of strikes, and their possible rebirth through Ened makes them a violent force to be reckoned with. But they probably won't win the galaxy. See, their population is tiny. It's too fractured and way too arrogant. They're split between the Drukhari, the Craftworlders, and the Agri-World Eldari. And even a new god may not unify all of those factions. Overall, Eldari dominance is possible, but it's unlikely unless there is some form of miracle involved. Next up, we have the beings that the Old Ones created to combat the Necrons. The Orcs, the Dark Horse candidate. Here's the funny thing. The Orcs are arguably the most naturally fit species to dominate the galaxy. They thrive in war, they reproduce rapidly, and their psychic field literally makes their technology work through belief. See, they have infinite reproduction, and their technology gets stronger the more that they fight. And looking at people like Ghazghkull Thraka, Waaghs can sweep entire sectors the same way the Tyranids do. And then there's their biggest asset. They enjoy the apocalypse that everybody else fears. However, they've got zero interest in an organized conquest. They don't get on together. When one orc is the top dog, another orc looks and says, "That should be mine," and then conks him over the back of the head with a brick. They're always fighting each other. Every single faction hates every other faction. They just live for war. Then there is their lack of unified leadership. If there's no big orc that takes over all of those factions and leads them to victory, they won't go anywhere. So realistically, if the orcs ever united under a truly unstoppable war boss, it would be game over. But that might not happen either. Going from ancient factions now to the newest factions, the Tau Empire is the rising star, but they are still a small empire. The Tau have potential, but they're tiny, a bubble of space compared to everybody else's vast empires. Now, they could theoretically win the race for the galaxy's victory based solely upon their rapid tech advancement. In the 6,000 years they've existed, the Imperium of Mankind has gone from not believing in gods to believing in gods, whereas the Tau have gone from being a small agricultural species to being intergalactic beings. They also have unified government and one strong sense of the greater good. They believe in one ultimate and culminating factor. Then they have strong diplomacy. They try it with every species they've met, including the Tyranids, something that's really rare in Warhammer 40K. However, they're not going to win this. They're too small an empire. They don't have enough space, legions, or people to be able to conquer an entire galaxy. Then there's the fact that they're vulnerable to psychers. They don't have any psychic ability themselves, and they are absolutely inadequate at fighting against chaos. And then there is the same factor as the Imperium of Man. They're surrounded by enemies. But unlike the Imperium of Man, they don't have trillions of their own people to combat those enemies. Ultimately, they will not win the galaxy, but they could survive long term if they manage to keep themselves to themselves and unify properly. So then, who is the most likely to win? If we're talking ultimate victory, true galaxy wide domination, then the most realistic winners are the Tyranids, the unstoppable consumption. If the galaxy fails to unite, the Tyranids will eventually eat everything. In second, we've got the Necrons, the silent reclaimers. If they coordinate and activate anti-warp tech, they can shut down whole swathes of the galaxy. And then in third place, there's the Orcs, the green tidal surprise. If a galaxy-wide Waaagh ever formed, nothing could stand in its way. But at the end of the day, this is Warhammer 40K. The entire setting is built on the idea that no one wins. There's only endless war. Still, imagining the what-ifs is half of the fun. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a like, subscribe for more 40k lore, and let me know in the comments, who do you think would win the galaxy?